This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Today, I stumbled upon this article. It actually was from 2019. It had been one of Meghan's vicious sugars who had resurrected this article and had been reposting it back online. I find it very interesting that it was American liberal media, CNN, who had posted this headline. Let's take a trip down memory lane and revisit this article to see what they were saying at that time. Keep in mind, this was February 13th of 2019. The article starts out by saying, "Did you read the story about Meghan Markle demanding synthetic air freshener in a 14th century royal chapel? Or the one about her making Kate Middleton cry? Maybe you saw the tabloid report that she gave out weed at her first wedding, or even enjoyed the unsourced conspiracy theories on social media that claim she's the latest celebrity to fake a pregnancy. The barrage of unproven criticism and, in the case of that last claim, outright slander aimed at the newest member of the British royal family has been appalling. Her supporters have finally begun to call it out. 5 of Meghan's friends took the unusual step of speaking anonymously to People magazine this week about their admiration for the Meghan they know, who personifies elegance, grace, philanthropy." And in an excellent Washington Post article this week, the author Yomi Adegoke breaks down the ways structural racism lies behind many of the attacks on the first biracial woman to marry into the House of Windsor. It's kind of all we need to know about who was really behind this article. As I understand it, at that time, there was a lot of rumors flying around in the UK, as well as leaks coming out about Meghan's diva demands, making Kate cry, the things the Queen said to her. And then we had this fluctuating moon bump that was shifting up, down, left, right, collapsing, expanding. The vast majority of Americans weren't really paying attention to what this woman was doing in the UK, including myself. So any of the rumors that were coming out that did make it over across the pond really wasn't followed up on or looked into too much. We pretty much trusted the mainstream media. Knowing what we know now about this woman, the article now actually makes sense, and I'm going to read just a little bit more and then get into the purpose of this video today. The problem isn't Meghan Markle. It's that royalty is an unsustainable institution in the 21st century. American fans, some of them devotees since her Suits days, have a very different relationship with Meghan than even her most supportive British fans. By definition, it's a different legal relationship. Our taxes pay for her life. When we meet her, we're obliged to curtsy to her. And her brother-in-law will presumably become our king, with the theoretical power to veto our laws. After all, we aren't citizens in this country, we're subjects. Fixation on Meghan's body and its reproductive functions, horrific as it is, and very clearly amplified by misogynoir, stems in part from the fact that her child could become our king. From Anne Boleyn to Mary of Modena, British subjects have fantasized about faked pregnancies and surrogate children smuggled in bedpans. Royal women no longer have to give birth in public. The tradition of the Home Secretary attending the birth was only abolished in 1948, but each time Catherine Middleton produces a child, it's only a few hours before she's expected to primp up her hair and face and parade for photographers in heels. If Meghan scraps this barbaric tradition, the world should applaud her. The real problem is that much of this scrutiny is reasonable, but only within the tortured logic of a royal family's very existence. Consider a Telegraph article ridiculed in the United States but popular in Britain that suggested Meghan should wear more British designers. In normal circumstances, only a monster would seek to tell a young woman which designers she should and shouldn't wear. But Meghan isn't a celebrity spending only her own money anymore. She is supported by the Sovereign Grant, a system built on British tax money, and by the Duchy of Cornwall. Of course, Meghan should be championing the fashion industry of the nation that sustains her new role. As for the story about her giving out marijuana in Jamaica, there's plenty of hypocrisy around race and weed, but if the head of state's granddaughter-in-law may have broken the law in the Commonwealth nation, it is a constitutional issue. The simple solution is to abolish such an absurd and anachronistic system. It's clear that Meghan has a chance to make the monarchy more inclusive, but there's a limit to just how inclusive that system can be when it confers deference, alongside all these unchosen pressures on the basis of bloodline. Prince Harry has talked in the past about wanting to give up on royal life. If Meghan and Harry want to be truly radical, perhaps they should walk away completely. They could have no greater influence on royal life than by denouncing it. So there you go, folks. Meghan was planting the seed here with what was to come. It's safe to say, knowing what we know, that 99.99999% Meghan was behind this article and gave what needed to be put in this article. So that kind of gives you an idea as to where her train of thought is. So if the thought of we need to abolish this institution, it then becomes this question as to why all the weirdness around these two invisible children. Today, I want to talk about this event that Meghan went to in this nursing home. The date of this event was December 18, 2018, and if we are to believe that she was pregnant, this would have put her around almost 5 months pregnant or 5 months at that point. I think it's pretty understandable why people were talking about Meghan at this event. Meghan wasn't wearing a maternity dress, and if you look at how tight and ill-fitted it looks, you then start to ask more questions, such as, could that dress possibly be hurting the baby because it's so tight? Or isn't Meghan uncomfortable wearing such a tight-fitting dress? And then on top of it, they're in the midst of winter in the UK, and here she is wearing a spring resort dress. None of that made any kind of sense, especially if she was truly looking out for the welfare of this royal seed that she allegedly has implanted in her. When you look at the description of this dress, nowhere does it say that it's made for women who are pregnant. In fact, it says it's tailored for a slim fit with a paneled bodice and coordinating pencil skirt. This wrinkled mess cost $1,044. Like, why did Meghan think this was a good idea? The only thing that I can think of is that she was merching this dress, because it wasn't a wintertime holiday dress. No, this was the 2019 resort dress for those going on vacation. According to this little write-up, the designers live in Los Angeles, so draw your own conclusions there. I think this was a huge mistake, and if she was getting any type of kickback for wearing this dress, then she chose that over being exposed for now what I'm looking at, her wearing a memory foam moon bump. I've seen many clips and video of this event, but I never been able to find video of this event that was high definition until today. Let me show you some things that I never noticed before. So Meghan comes in and she begins talking to these residents, and she goes over to the one in the wheelchair and she dips down. She begins talking to this woman for a reasonable bit, as you can see. From the back here, you can see how tight this dress is, and it almost makes you wonder, how is Meghan even breathing? I'm not questioning Meghan dipping down, because at 5 months, some women can still do that. We've seen Catherine dip down, talking to children when she was early in her pregnancy. I don't know what she would have done here. Perhaps maybe remain standing, or sit in the chair to get eye level. I don't think she would have stooped down like this, though. So after a decent amount of time, Meghan proceeds to get up. Here is what I notice. Aside from the wrinkles, I start to see, when she goes over to the woman to shake her hand, an impression of where, if you were stooping down, would be. Let's zoom in on this to see if my eyes are playing tricks on me and it's the dress, or there's an indentation. What do you guys think? You see the dress moving. It sort of looks like it's the dress, but it also sort of looks like there is a crease from if you were stooping down. And what you see next is Meghan put her hand over this impression, almost as if she knows that it's there and sees it. So now as we move through this video, pay attention to when Meghan sits down and where those indentations start forming. Again, are eyes deceiving us, or is there really memory foam under that dress? Look, she puts her hand over her stomach in the same place again as she sits down. As Megan knows the camera's around, it's so funny. She's like purposely arching her back, sticking out her stomach. From the way that it looks as she's been standing for a little bit, it does look like this bump is taking back its original shape. But let's move into the next clip, because that's when things start to look really weird. Next, we find Megan in the beauty salon. Keep your eye out for those creases and indentations. This dress is so tight on her that it's smushing whatever it is that is under there. And as she moves, she's constantly hovering her hands over to where those indentations would be. So here's where you start to see that something is just not right. You start to recognize that it's not the dress, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. You can see how the dress is bunching up, as well as whatever's under there bunching up as well. But here's where it goes south for me, and coming to the conclusion that there is some type of memory foam or prosthetic under that dress. If you saw that indentation at the beginning of this video, then you'll see it again for sure. Watch her stomach. Does that look like there is a baby inside there, or does it look like there's a pillow under there? This doesn't look right. As Megan sits down, I think she notices her stomach, so you can see her arm then casually move over there to shield full out public deceit. Are you all seeing what I'm seeing? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that that is a prosthetic or memory foam under there? I do. Look at what's going on there. She's got her legs crossed. She's like hovering over, crushing that pillow. That can't be a baby in there. I'm sorry. No. And watch how Megan sits and where she places her hands. If you see the same crease that I was seeing, that hand naturally moves right over it, as if she knows. This convinces me, among the other videos, that Megan did not carry this child. The amount of evidence surrounding this is beyond overwhelming at this point. Going back to that CNN article where the American who wrote it was like, it's time to abolish the monarchy. If Megan indeed used a surrogate, not only for Archie, but also for little Betty, and the royal family know about it, this will be a constitutional crisis that could potentially bring the house down. Could it be what Megan was gunning for this whole entire time? She must have hated being in that retirement home, because everywhere Megan looked was either Queen Elizabeth's name or a portrait staring at her. Come on, people, look at this. Who believes that this woman had a baby in there? Holy cow, look at the duper's delight on Megan's face. Nothing around these pregnancies made any kind of sense. You almost have to wonder if that was all intentional to cause some type of constitutional crisis. I'm beginning to think so. Megan knew very well what she was doing here in this deceitful display. So what's going to happen if, when the day comes, this turns out to be true? We can only speculate. No one really knows how this will go down. Just for fun, I went to ChatGPT and asked a couple more questions. Here's what it had to say. So the first question I asked is it true heirs to the UK crown must be of the body? ChatGPT responds and says, yes, it is true that heirs to the UK crown must be of the body, meaning they must be biological descendants of the monarch. This principle is embedded in several key pieces of legislation governing the line of succession to the British throne. Number 1, Act of Settlement 1701. This act specifies that the succession to the throne is limited to the heirs of the body of the Electress Sophia of Hanover, which means the direct biological descendants. Number 2, Bill of Rights 1689. This act, in conjunction with the Act of Settlement, set the foundational rules for the Protestant line of succession, emphasizing direct descent. The term heirs of the body is a legal phrase used in inheritance law to refer to descendants directly related by blood. Thus, adopted children, stepchildren, or other non-biological descendants are not eligible to inherit the throne under current UK law. The next question I asked is, what happens if a surrogate is used? And it answers, the use of a surrogate in the line of succession to the British throne is a complex issue and not explicitly addressed in current UK succession laws. However, based on the principles outlined in existing legislation, several key points can be considered. Heirs of the body. The term heirs of the body traditionally means biological descendants. If a surrogate is used but the child is genetically related to the royal parent, it could be argued that the child meets the requirement of being an heir of the body. Number 2, legal precedents and interpretations. There are no explicit legal precedents regarding surrogacy in the context of royal succession. Any decision would likely require legal interpretation or potential legislative updates to clarify the position. Number 3, royal marriages and consent. According to the Royal Marriages Act 1772 and the Succession to the Crown Act 2013, descendants of the royal family need the sovereign's consent to marry, which indirectly ensures the legitimacy of heirs. Surrogacy, however, introduces a modern reproductive technology not considered in these acts. Number 4, public and parliamentary approval. Given the significant constitutional implications, the issue of surrogacy in royal succession would likely require discussion and approval by the UK Parliament and possibly public discourse to ensure clarity and adherence to constitutional norms. In summary, while existing laws focus on biological descent, the use of surrogacy, where the child is genetically related to the royal parent, could potentially be compatible with the requirement for heirs to be of the body. However, without explicit legal provisions or precedents, this would be a matter for legal and potentially parliamentary determination. So now I turn the heat up on the questions. I asked ChatGPT, is it considered treason if there is an heir in the line of succession that is not of the body? ChatGPT replies, under current UK law, the presence of an heir in the line of succession who is not of the body would not be considered treason. Treason, as defined by the Treason Act 1351 and subsequent legislation, involves specific acts such as attempting to off the sovereign, levying war against the sovereign, or aiding enemies of the sovereign. The presence of an ineligible heir in the line of succession does not fall under these definitions. However, if there were a deliberate attempt to place or recognize an ineligible heir in the line of succession through fraudulent means or subterfuge, this could potentially constitute a serious constitutional issue. The consequences would depend on the specific circumstances and the actions taken by those involved. While not necessarily treason, such actions could be considered a severe breach of trust and could lead to legal and political repercussions. In summary, treason, placing an ineligible heir in the line of succession, is not treason under current UK law. Number 2, constitutional issue. It would be a significant constitutional issue requiring legal and potentially parliamentary intervention. And number 3, legal repercussions. Fraudulent actions to place an ineligible heir could have severe legal consequences, though not necessarily classified as treason. The laws governing treason and succession are separate, and the misplacement of an ineligible heir, while serious, would be addressed through different legal and constitutional mechanisms. The next question I ask is, what are the consequences for lying about an heir in the line of succession that is not of the body? ChatGPT replies, lying about an heir in the line of succession who is not of the body would have serious legal and constitutional consequences, given the significance of the royal lineage and the integrity of the monarchy. The specific consequences would depend on the nature of the deceit and the roles of those involved. Here are some potential repercussions. Number 1, fraud and legal action. Those found to have lied about an heir's legitimacy could face charges of fraud or other relevant criminal offenses. Fraudulent misrepresentation in such a serious context would likely lead to criminal prosecution, with penalties that could include imprisonment. Number 2, constitutional crisis. The discovery of an ineligible heir in the line of succession could trigger a constitutional crisis requiring urgent legal and political action to resolve the situation. This might involve legislative measures to clarify or rectify the line of succession. Number 3, public and political repercussions. Such a revelation would likely result in significant public and political fallout. It could undermine public trust in the monarchy and in the individuals involved, leading to calls for resignations or other political consequences. Number 4, parliamentary interventions. The UK Parliament might need to intervene to address the issue, potentially passing new legislation or amendments to existing laws to ensure the integrity of the line of succession. This could include measures to formally remove the ineligible heir from the line of succession. Number 5, royal household actions. The royal household itself would need to take action to maintain the credibility and integrity of the monarchy. This could involve internal investigations, public statements, and other measures to restore confidence. Number 6, historical precedent and future safeguards. The incident would likely prompt a review of historical precedents and lead to the establishment of new safeguards to prevent similar issues in the future. This could involve more rigorous verification processes for heirs and clearer legal definitions regarding eligibility. Overall, lying about an heir in the line of succession would be a grave matter with far-reaching consequences, necessitating a multifaceted response from the legal system, Parliament, and the royal household. So now I ask this hypothetical question. ChatGPT, hypothetically speaking, what could happen to Meghan Markle if she used a surrogate for both her children and deceived the monarch to keep them in the line of succession? ChatGPT replies, hypothetically, if Meghan Markle used a surrogate for both her children and deceived the monarch to keep them in the line of succession, several potential consequences could arise. These would depend on legal, constitutional, and public reactions to the deception. Here are some possible outcomes. Number 1, investigation and public disclosure. An investigation might be launched to verify the claims. If the deception were confirmed, it would likely lead to a public disclosure of the facts. The royal family would need to address the issue publicly to maintain transparency and public trust. Number 2, legal repercussions. While there are no specific laws addressing surrogacy in the context of royal succession, fraudulent misrepresentation could have legal implications. If it were determined that Meghan Markle intentionally deceived the monarch and the public, she could face legal consequences for fraud or perjury, depending on the circumstances. Number 3, constitutional crisis and parliamentary action. The revelation could trigger a constitutional crisis, prompting Parliament to intervene. This could involve amending succession laws or passing specific legislation to address the situation. Parliament might also consider measures to ensure the integrity of the line of succession going forward. Number 4, removal from the line of succession. If it were determined that the children were not eligible for the line of succession due to the use of a surrogate, they could be formally removed from the line of succession. This would likely involve a legal or parliamentary process to adjust the official record. Number 5, impact on the royal family. The royal family would need to manage the fallout from the scandal. This could involve internal disciplinary actions, changes in titles, or other measures to distance the family from the deception. The royal household might also implement stricter verification processes for future heirs. Number 6, public and media reaction. The public and media reaction would be significant. There could be widespread scrutiny of Meghan Markle and the royal family, leading to a loss of public trust and support. The media would likely cover the story extensively, further complicating the royal family's efforts to manage the situation. Number 7, personal and social consequences. Meghan Markle could face severe personal and social repercussions, including damage to her reputation and relationships within the royal family. I think that's already done. She might also face increased media scrutiny and public criticism. Number 8, reforms and safeguards. In the wake of such a scandal, there might be calls for reforms and safeguards to prevent similar issues in the future. This could include clearer legal definitions regarding eligibility for the line of succession and more rigorous verification processes. In summary, if it were revealed that Meghan Markle used a surrogate and deceived the monarch to keep her children in the line of succession, the consequences could be severe, involving legal, constitutional, public, and personal repercussions. The situation would require careful management by the royal family and potentially significant legislative and constitutional changes to address the fallout. Now, this next question is a bit more serious. I asked ChatGPT, could the UK sovereign be removed from the head of state if they kept secret knowing an heir in the line of succession was not of the body? ChatGPT proceeds to give me now 2 responses, one in short and then one really thorough long one. ChatGPT's short answer is yes, the UK sovereign could potentially face serious repercussions if they knowingly kept secret that an heir in the line of succession was not of the body. While the removal of a sovereign is highly unprecedented and complex, the following actions could occur. Number 1, parliamentary action. Parliament holds significant power and could pass a resolution or legislation to address the situation, potentially leading to the abdication or removal of the sovereign. Number 2, public and political pressure. Intense public and political pressure could mount, compelling the sovereign to abdicate voluntarily to preserve the integrity of the monarchy. And number 3, constitutional mechanisms. Existing constitutional mechanisms and the role of the Privy Council could be invoked to resolve the crisis, ensuring that a legitimate heir ascends to the throne. In summary, while the process is intricate and highly unusual, the sovereign could be removed from the head of state position if they deliberately concealed the legitimacy of an heir. Now, the longer version is more or less the same, just more details surrounding it. You can pause this video and read what they say. Moving on, the final question that I ask here pertaining to Prince Harry, and I asked ChatGPT, would Prince Harry be guilty of treason for knowing and deceiving his father, the king? The act of knowingly deceiving the monarch about the legitimacy of heirs in the line of succession would not traditionally be classified as treason under current UK law. Treason is defined by the Treason Act 1351 and subsequent legislation, and it includes specific acts such as attempting to off the sovereign, levying war against the sovereign, or aiding enemies of the sovereign. However, the deliberate deception of the monarch regarding the legitimacy of heirs could be considered a serious offense and could lead to significant legal and constitutional repercussions. Here are some potential consequences for Prince Harry if he were found to have knowingly deceived his father, the king. Number 1, legal consequences. While not treason, knowingly participating in a deception of this magnitude could lead to charges of fraud or other related offenses. The legal system might pursue these charges to address the deceit. Number 2, constitutional crisis. The revelation of such deception could trigger a constitutional crisis requiring Parliament and the royal family to take action. This could involve legislative measures to clarify succession laws and ensure the integrity of the line of succession. Number 3, loss of titles and privileges. Prince Harry could face the loss of his royal titles and privileges as a consequence of his actions. The royal family might take steps to distance itself from him and his actions. So I think they've started this process. Number 4, public and media backlash. There would likely be significant public and media backlash against Prince Harry. This could result in a loss of public support and a damaged reputation. Well, whatever support he has left. Number 5, family and personal repercussions. Within the royal family, Prince Harry's relationships with other family members, particularly his father, the king, would be severely strained. This could lead to personal and familial repercussions. How much more can he damage this relationship? It's like non-existent. Number 6, parliamentary inquiry and legislation. Parliament might conduct an inquiry into the matter and pass legislation to prevent similar situations in the future. This could include stricter verification processes for heirs and clearer legal definitions of eligibility for the line of succession. Number 7, ethical and moral judgments. Beyond legal and constitutional issues, there would be significant ethical and moral judgments made by the public and within the royal family regarding Prince Harry's actions. In summary, while Prince Harry would not be guilty of treason for knowingly deceiving the king about the legitimacy of heirs, the consequences of such actions would be severe and multifaceted, involving legal, constitutional, public, and personal repercussions. We all know that Harry's reputation is already in the toilet. I don't think he's concerned about that, nor the media either, because, he should be used to it by now. But the legal stuff and the removal of titles potentially maybe removing him from the line of succession if Parliament decides on that. When you really think about this, what they have done, if not with Archie, most definitely, in my opinion, with little Betty, when you think about it, this is a really serious matter. How are they going to get out of this? Is the intent to just ignore it and hope that it goes away? I want to remind you guys of something that I had put together back when they did that Netflix mockumentary. Look at how this couple tried to deceive the world with this foolery. When Archie turned 1, he was a small little guy. He barely had hair on his head. Even the beautiful little Wales children, they were tiny, they barely had hair on their heads, they could barely walk, still a little bit chubby, but all right and cute. Even Eugenie's baby, when he turned 1, August, this was the photo that she put up. Then there's this girl, digitally altered and had been given fangs. Now, of all the pictures that I just showed you of 1-year-old babies, who actually believes that that girl in Meghan's arms is 1? Anyone? No, I don't think so. This is the biggest con of the century, in my humble opinion. Let's analyze the footage of this alleged birthday party. So Meghan appears to be wearing the same clothes that was shown in that black and white photo with Misan Harriman's wife. We're supposed to get the impression that they're in London, they're at Frogmore Cottage, and this was their birthday party. Misan's kids got the face painting going on. Not sure why Lilibet didn't have the face painting going on, but that's what we accepted. Never mind that the photo of Lilibet and this black and white photo looked nothing alike. Then we had details of this cake come out. I mean, Meghan was really selling it hard that she had this birthday party for Lilibet. Almost too much she was selling it. It now all makes sense as to the madness of what we were seeing. So this video, or this clip, was included in this mockumentary. And I'm going to dissect this to show you that this whole entire thing is one big fraud. First red flag. This is your child's first birthday party. They couldn't even be bothered to dress better, especially having people over for a party. Watch the first couple of seconds of this clip.
Happy birthday to you. Archie, do you want to come help out the candle? Happy birthday to you. Archie, do you want to come help out the candle? To you. Archie, do you want to come help out the candle? To you. Archie, do you want to come help out the candle?
So knowing what we just watched and proving that there were multiple Archies that would act on behalf of the actual real Archie, it's safe to say that this is another actor. How many 3-year-old kids do you know that would sit disengaged while their sibling, who's getting now all the attention with this big sugary sweet cake in front of them, just sit there and stare off into space? Also, how many 3-year-olds do you know that don't even recognize their name and have to be nudged by the person behind them who's rubbing their head? And then there's Meghan, who doesn't even look at him. I mean, at least, Meghan, try to pretend that you have 2 children that you care for. Now watch Harry's interaction with these 2 children.
Oh my.
After Meghan calls for Archie, there's this weird edit where you see this boy then climb on top of the table, which look at Harry, look at Meghan, nobody is looking at the boy. Then you have the girl in Meghan's arms who is just dangling there. She's not clutching onto her. She looks terribly uncomfortable. And here's what gives away the fact that these children are not their kids in the way that they're behaving. Look at how Harry has just immediately grabbed that boy's arm. Yes, I understand that he's got fire there, but you know what? If that was your son, you would tell him to get down and you'd pick him up. You wouldn't have him come leap onto the table with all the staff that they truck around on those private jets. At least they could have had somebody light the candle and Harry pick up his son, if that was his son. I'm assuming that the woman behind this little boy is the actual mother, and she goes to handle him. Now, I don't know if they realize that they left this woman behind, how bad this looks, but also look at the table. There's 4 party hats on there and none of them are wearing it. Come on, guys, like, do better. Like, where's the face painting? Where are the 2 girls? Like, you would think they would be a part of this celebration. What kind of party is this? Like, it's not a party. This is all staged. And that girl in Meghan's hand is not hers. I'm sorry, it's not. That is not a 1-year-old girl, and that's not Archie either. Let's look at this freeze frame for a quick second. If there are any fathers out there that are listening to my channel, tell me, does that look like normal behavior a parent or father would do to his son, especially if this is a family gathering and, you know, your son climbs on top of the table? I would think you would tell him to get down, and I think you might have picked him up. This, nah, not buying it. And if they are their kids, which I highly doubt, I feel sorry. Because look at how both of them ignored Archie in this whole 2-minute scene. Another thing that just dawned on me, there were rumors going around that nobody saw children getting on or off a plane when they went over to England for the Jubilee. So were these children that we're seeing here going to go meet the Queen if she was allowed to get a picture with them? I shudder to think that they would do something like that, but in what we've seen so far, man, at this point, anything is possible. I'm sorry to belabor this point, but I just stumbled on this small detail. Let me know if you are seeing what I'm seeing. So here's the clip again from the beginning. Now, what I did was I zoomed in on just Lilibet. As you can see, Lilibet looks smaller. What's kind of evil is watching Meghan's face turn to anger as Harry's trying to light the candle, and you can see it, but that's not what I want to point out. Just keep watching the baby. Did you see that cut? Tell me if you think that that's the same baby that you were watching 2 seconds before. So when you put this side by side up, you can clearly see that little Betty number 1 is not little Betty number 2. The amount of lies that this couple have told over the last 6 years is astounding. You can understand why the royal family don't talk about this line of succession or even approach the subject of these 2 so-called phantom kids. Do you think that we'll ever know the truth about these 2 invisible kids? I mean, how can they keep this going? Does anyone believe that this child has strawberry or ginger blonde hair and blue eyes? No. Perhaps maybe Charles take one for the team and retire early. If this does turn out to be that Harry and Meghan use surrogates, if not for Archie, definitely for Lily, then I don't think this should be left for William to clean up. That's just my opinion. But what do you guys think is going to happen? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. And if you like this content, please hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss it when I come back. Anyhow, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
I was such a fraud.